Cosmic Fear Garou, a form that Garou, the hero hunter, was blessed with by God, gaining all awareness of the flow of the universe, and being so strong that he was able to give Saitama, the One Punch Man, a run for his money. And Son Gohan, the prodigal Saiyan with the extraordinary potential to surpass every Z fighter, including his father. I think there are many things to go over, since not only is this not a Goku versus Saitama situation where current Goku is just clearly stronger, whether you like it or not, but using the strongest character from the Cell games and putting him up against God-amped Garou is a lot closer than you might think. Without further ado, I hope you enjoyed the video while I discuss everything about Gohan vs Garou. When it comes to scaling Garou, there are many feats. Although, because the series we're comparing him to involves fodder characters blowing up planets and whatnot, I think most of these continent to potentially moon level feats aren't even worth mentioning. With Garou's awakening, gaining power of the divine being in the One Punch Man universe, God gains knowledge of all energy that flows in the universe, and the behaviors of all forces in the universe, with even statements from Murata, who has some authority when it comes to the series, saying he can shake the universe with this newly found power. Now, the main contention with this is Garou not actually shaking the universe, and with the statement being more of a metaphor, basically referring to the hype of the transformation, which I can definitely understand. Although, on the opposing side, shaking the universe isn't inconsistent with the feats he performs during this fight. While merely shaking the universe doesn't equate to destroying the universe in any capacity, it's like me saying that because I can shake a car, I can then therefore destroy the car with one punch. Garou shaking the universe has been calculated to around 10 to the 65 joules of energy, which is multi-solar system level. And of course, the infamous full power Saitama and Garou clash, with Blast needing the aid of interdimensional warriors to teleport the energy released from this into far space. Otherwise, the Earth would have been obliterated. The result of the teleported energy makes a giant hole in space, making hundreds or even thousands of stars just sort of vanish into thin air. With there just being a giant black hole in the middle of space, this clash has been calculated to around the same joules of energy as Garou shaking the universe. There are arguments that they could have just obliterated the light particles of the stars and that the stars are potentially visible in later panels on some Naruto time-space outer level reasoning or whatever. I think the author's intent is blatantly for these stars to have been destroyed and at the very least moved or pushed. And during their fight, they're shown creating light constellations on one of Jupiter's moons, with calcs getting this anywhere from hundreds of times the speed of light to even billions of times the speed of light. And while at face value, this might seem like the full power Saitama and Garou clash eclipses anything in the Cell games of Dragon Ball, there are a lot of things to discuss when it comes down to it. Feats in Dragon Ball are often heavily underestimated when it comes down to how they're performed. It's ironic because this is one of the few series where nuking planets is considered normal. What if I told you that planetary feats in Dragon Ball, and just celestial feats in general, far exceed any planetary or celestial feats in One Punch Man? One of the most notable instances of this being the case is the size of the Dragon Ball Earth. In Dr. Slump, which, yes, is canon to Dragon Ball, it's stated that the Earth has a radius of around 4 billion kilometers. A planet of this radius is around 100,000 times larger than the Earth is in our world, and by proxy, One Punch Man. Even the radius of our own sun is over 1.3 million kilometers, which means that going by this statement, the Dragon Ball Earth is like if you combined around 3,000 of our suns into one giant mega planet. This becomes kind of insane when you consider that even as far back as OG Dragon Ball, King Piccolo is stated to be able to destroy it. Whether or not you believe he can actually nuke the planet, which he might very well be able to, doesn't really matter, since by the Cell Saga, we've had many statements that basically make earth-busting power child's play, with even characters like Saiyan Saga Vegeta being able to do this with his finger. This gets taken further when considering that Planet Vegeta was several times larger than that of Earth, which was destroyed by Frieza in his suppressed form with just a finger. Even lowballing this, Frieza would be very high in that solar system ranges of power. Frieza's first form has a power level of 530,000, whereas in his full power form, he has a power level of around 120 million, which is around a 200 times difference in power. Taking this difference into consideration, this would mean that full power Frieza is in that multi-solar system ranges of power. Throughout the Android and Cell sagas, these characters have exceeded the power of Frieza by many times over, with even characters like Krillin showing up to the Cell games, where it was recommended that only Super Saiyan level fighters should even show up. All of this pales in comparison to what Perfect Cell was able to accomplish, being said to destroy the entire solar system in one blast. This is also backed up by some data books which confirm this statement to be true. Now, the reason this feat is way more impressive than any feat prior in the series is because of the fact that according to the Daizenshus, a solar system in Dragon Ball comprises of countless nebulae with innumerable stars. Since the solar system itself contains innumerable stars, this brings the size of the solar system to at least multi-solar system level. This calc uses the size of our own planet and the GB of our own sun without taking into account the sheer size difference of our Earth and the Dragon Ball Earth, which, as I went over, is nearly the size of a solar system in our world. If we factor this in, this feat could be hundreds of times larger than even this calc, and even make it into that galaxy ranges of power. As for speed, this can get really crazy. In the Saiyan Saga, Piccolo is able to destroy the moon in 3 seconds with an unamped ki blast. This isn't a special beam cannon or any sort of charged attack. It is him releasing enough ki to blow up the moon, and it happens in 3 seconds. Keep in mind, ki in Dragon Ball is used to amp their physical stats, so any ki-based moves, speed or physical damage, would equate to their physical combat speed. According to the data books, Raditz only had a power level of around 1,500, and Piccolo at this time was weaker. While Goku on Namek, as a Super Saiyan, had a power level of 150 million. This is a 100,000 times power difference in one arc, and this is a level of power that he surpasses in base several times over. In the Daizenshus, it's stated that the supernova Frieza launched at Trunks was dozens of times stronger than the one he used on Namek. Dozens by definition is sets of 12, and even taking into account the fact that Frieza was at half power when he tried to blow up Namek, this still jumps his power into the billions, meaning that this Frieza has a power level of around 1.4 billion, meaning that by this point, this Frieza that gets fodderized by Super Saiyan 1 Trunks is 1 billion times the speed of light. And this is pre-Android Saga, where they train 3 years during a time skip and go into the hyperbolic time chamber and get even stronger. Just for reference, Goku was able to match Trunks' Super Saiyan, according to El Manga Legendario, and this is the same Trunks that was able to obliterate Frieza in a few seconds, meaning that Goku likely got an amp similar to Frieza in that 1 year of training. Imagine 3 years. Gohan post time skip is also allowed by Goku to fight the androids, which says a lot because Goku doesn't let Gohan fight battles he's blatantly outmatched in. But these are the same androids that beat the bricks out of Super Saiyan Trunks, who is equal to post Yardrat Goku, meaning that base Gohan, after the time skip, is superior to the same Trunks that fodderized Frieza. Goku is shown being equal to Gohan base to base during their time in the time chamber, and he's able to stack Super Saiyan on top of all of this, giving him a power level of 90 billion. By the time the Cell games roll around, Gohan is not only superior to Goku, but also unlocks Super Saiyan 2, which is a 2 times amp off of Super Saiyan, or 180 billion. This is obviously ignoring many things that happen in between, and my buddy Cell actually made an entire video on Cell Saga Goku's power level, so if you want a more in-depth version, be sure to check him out. This can get even more insane when you consider things like Kid Goku actually dodging light as a child, and light potentially being even faster in Dragon Ball than real life. Either way, their speed is extremely quantifiable, and they're easily in the millions to billions of times FTL by the time Cell comes along. In terms of AP, they're not far apart. I would give Gohan the slight edge due to the size difference of solar systems. However, both calcs reasonably get these characters to being able to output 10 to the 65 joules of energy. If you agree with the Dragon Ball solar systems being even larger due to the planet size difference, Gohan would have the edge without a doubt. As for speed, Gohan would massively outscale, with the exponential differences in power, being able to stack Super Saiyan forms on top of all of these. Gohan is just quicker more consistently than even the highest end interpretations of Garou's speed. As for Garou's radiation, many uneducated people when it comes to knowledge on both series tend to think that, well, because Garou has his cosmic radiation, wouldn't Gohan sort of just like die? And I think the main thing to consider is the fact that his radiation works on the atomic level, assuming it is actual cosmic radiation. In the data books, it stated that Trunks was able to atomize Frieza with his Ki Blast attacks. And of course, if characters like the androids aren't getting obliterated by each other, there's obviously atomic level defenses, which applies to Gohan, of course, since he doesn't get obliterated by one blast. In my opinion, the outcome heavily depends on whether or not Gohan chooses to end the fight quickly or not. Gohan isn't exactly like Goku in terms of wanting a great fight. If he notices that Garou is a threat, he will 100% end off the fight as quick as possible, given the slight edge due to the size of their major AP feats. Gohan not only has more destructive abilities, but also has an edge on every stat imaginable. At best, we can agree on a stalemate if Gohan isn't quick enough. However, 9 times out of 10, Gohan wins.